This episode is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 seller of games and gaming accessories. And GatheringMagic.com, the #1 resource for Magic the Gathering news and articles.
I'm Josh Sykes, and this is Sedris the Traitor King. Okay, Sedris the Traitor King. This is the general. What he does for me, he gives each creature in my graveyard unearth for 2 and a black. It's a Reanimator deck. So, if I put in Kiki-Jiki and Zealous Conscripts with, say, Buried Alive, I can just pay 6 mana and win. He also, unlike playing Reanimator in other colors, he's given me access to blue, black, and red, which means I can play black for the standard Reanimator package, and blue gives me control, and red gives me like looting effects. So it's he's a strong Reanimator general, and I think that he's probably, for what I'm trying to do, the best option. Entomb. This is probably one of the most important cards for the reanimation package. One of the key strategies to the deck is try to play Jin-Gitaxias on turn 2 or 3. I can probably do this 50 to 70% of the time. You're drawing 7 cards, everybody else is pitching their hands, and you run away from the game. I can do this. I've got lots of tutor effects. I can, mulligan aggressively. I do whatever I need to do to get Entomb and some good reanimation spell into my hand early in the game. And, I just go nuts. Buried Alive. Search your library for up to 3 creature cards. Put them in my graveyard. With Buried Alive, I can just go get, say, Rune-Scarred Demon, Mikaeus, and Triskelion, cast a reanimation spell, get Rune-Scarred Demon out, then cast Victimize on Rune-Scarred Demon, and just win. This card's insane. Reanimate. This is another one of the cards that I really want to see early in the game. If I can reanimate Jin-Gitaxias on turn 2 with this, I'll be at 30 life, but I'll have Jin-Gitaxias on turn 2. So it's well worth it. Animate Dead. This is one of the best reanimation spells in the game. 2 mana. Put a guy out of your graveyard onto the battlefield. Very good. Exhume. It's a sorcery, so I can tutor for it with Mystical Tutor. This makes it very valuable. 2 mana, so I can do it really early. That makes it valuable. And if I cast it in the early turns of the game, I'm the only one reanimating anything. And usually, at any point in the game, I'm the only one reanimating anything that matters. So it's very good. Dance the Dead, another valuable reanimation spell. The creature stays tapped unless I pay, but that's usually not relevant. Necromancy, this lets me reanimate at instant speed if I want to. I usually don't. Usually I'm just doing it as a normal enchantment, but it's good to have that option. Victimize. This combos with Buried Alive. Choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. Sack a creature. If you do, put the 2 chosen creature cards into play tapped. With this, I can sack a guy, bring back Kiki-Jiki and Pestermite, use the Pestermite to untap Kiki-Jiki, and then go nuts. Jin-Gitaxias. Really any point in the game, but especially in the early turns of the game when nobody can really find an answer for him, this guy just wrecks. Every instep I draw 7 cards. Each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7. This is an effect that all Praetors have. Like, they do something incredible for you and something terrible for your opponents. And this is exactly what you want to be doing in multiplayer and in EDH. Shieldred, another Praetor. So, she's a 6/6 with Swamp Walk, and that's already good. And at the beginning of your upkeep, I get to reanimate a guy for free. And at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, they have to sack a creature. So that's great. I can bring her back. If my graveyard's stocked, I'm winning in a few turns. Consecrated Sphinx. Whenever an opponent draws a card, I can draw 2 cards. That's obviously really good. Rune-Scarred Demon. Sometimes I'll cast this guy or reanimate him and go get, say, Deadeye Navigator. Then I'll soul bond them and just go crazy. It's a Demonic Tutor on a stick attached to a 6/6 flyer. It's great. Chaos the Unhallowed. This is a kind of a notorious combo creature. He gives other non-human creatures Undying. So he combos with Triskelion. So when the two of them are together, you can use Triskelion as a machine gun to just kill everybody. Kiki-Jiki. Again, one of the most notorious combo creatures. Combos with Pestermite, Deceiver Exarch, or Zealous Conscripts to make infinite hasty guys that go kill your opponents. Splinter Twin is enchantment, but it has the same effect as Kiki-Jiki. Pestermite, this is one of said combo cards. Deceiver Exarch. Zealous Conscripts. Conscripts is better than Deceiver Exarch or Pestermite, and that's reflected in its higher mana cost, of course, but it also combos with Gilded Lotus and Deadeye Navigator to steal every permanent on the battlefield and keep them, and make infinite mana, which I can use to, like, Stroke of Genius to draw my whole deck and then combo off however I want. Deadeye Navigator. He's particularly good with Sedris because if I unearth a guy, there's a delayed trigger at end of turn to exile the creature. If I soul bond him with Deadeye Navigator, I can blink him. He comes back as a new creature, and then that delayed trigger doesn't happen. He's a new creature. Then we have some utility guys. Snapcaster Mage. Lets me cast my spells twice. Notion Thief. Whenever somebody else would draw a card, I draw it instead, unless it's the first card they drew on their turn. That's obviously nuts. Then Planeswalkers. I'm running 3. Liliana of the Veil. +1. Each player discards a card. That's fine. I don't mind discarding big fatties. My opponents are probably less happy about it. She protects herself. One of the best things Planeswalkers can do. At worst, Liliana of the Veil is a 3-mana Diabolic Edict. So that's fine. Baby Jace. I can use him diplomatically if I want to. Usually I'm just going to go down, down, up. I'll draw, then everybody draws. And then if I have Notion Thief out, I can just +2 him all the time and draw a bunch of cards. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Everybody knows why this card's insane. He protects himself. He brainstorms. He fate seals. It's nuts. Faithless Looting. For 1 mana, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. So I draw whatever, discard some guy I want to reanimate, then reanimate it, then has flashback. 1 mana. Izzet Charm. Has the same effect, draw 2, then discard 2, or it counters a non-creature spell unless the controller pays 2, or it deals 2 damage to a creature, so, it can kill Kalia, for example. So, it's very strong. Frantic Search. This is a looting spell, but I get to untap my lands. Fact or Fiction. This makes people make difficult decisions. If the 5 that they reveal have, like, a combo in it, and they have to put something in my graveyard, something in my hand, they know I'm playing Reanimator, they just scoop. Stroke of Genius. A lot of decks that are going to make infinite mana want to run Exsanguinate. I'd rather do this because I can just cast it normally to draw a bunch of cards. Or I can combo off with it to draw my whole deck. Vamp Tutor, pay 2 life, search your library for a card, and put it on top of your library at instant speed for 1 black. Really good. It's part of the way we, if I want to get Entomb and Reanimate Jin-Gitaxias on turn 2, this card and Mystical Tutor are essential. Demonic Tutor. Everybody knows this is great. Search your library for any card, put it in your hand, 2 mana. Diabolic Tutor. This is less good, but it's the same effect for 2 more mana, so we'll run it anyway. Insidious Dreams is really good here. As an additional cost to pay it, Insidious Dreams, it costs 4. Discard X cards in your hand, then search your library for X cards and put those on top. So I'll discard 2 things I want to reanimate, then go get Victimize and Force of Will and protect it. Good. Lim-Dul's Vault. This is a classically good cards. You stack your deck. Then we come into kind of the control package. There's a couple of spot removal cards, a lot of Wrath, and some counter spells. So Terminate, destroy target creature, can't be regenerated. Croesus' Charm. It works as a Doom Blade that can't be regenerated, or destroys an artifact, or bounces a permanent. So it lets us get rid of some things like enchantments that we have a hard time dealing with. Firestorm. Choose and discard X cards. Firestorm deals X damage to each of X target creatures and or players. At 1 mana, it's basically just a way to discard a big creature we want to reanimate early in the game. Sickening Dreams basically more or less does the same thing. Cyclonic Rift is a blue staple because it's ridiculously overpowered in EDH. Damnation. For 4 mana in our colors, Damnation is the only effect that will let me Wrath of God. So destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. It's very strong. Blasphemous Act. It costs 9 mana to cast, but 1 less for each creature on the battlefield. So usually if I'm casting it, there's 5 or 6 creatures on the battlefield that are problematic, and it does 13 damage to each, so it's really strong. Decree of Pain is expensive, but I get to draw lots of cards. Pact of Negation. So we're getting into the combo, the counter spells, and so since it's a combo deck, there are some free ones to protect with. Pact of Negation and Force of Will. Then counter spell. Ideally this would be mana drain if the sky was the limit, but right now it's counter spell. Hinder, put a general on the bottom of their library. It's good against general dependent decks like Azami or Kalia. Spell Crumple is the same thing. Counterflux can't be countered, so I love this spell. Forbid, this has buyback by discarding 2 cards, so that's good in Reanimator. Sometimes we don't want to, you don't want to buy it back, so it's just a cancel, but it's fine. It's worth playing. 4 mana for Cryptic Command is a little expensive, but usually we're just going to counter a spell and draw a card. But also having the option to tap all the creatures your opponent controls or bounce something again is an effect that I really need, so it's worth playing. Desertion, if it's an artifact or a creature, counter it and we get to keep it. Otherwise, just counter. It's a normal counterspell for 5. It's a little expensive, but I like it. Phyrexian Arena is a black staple. I get to draw another card every turn. Bribery. It's an insanely powerful card. I can search my opponent's library and get their Sylvan Primordial or their Iona or whatever. It's really good. Treachery. When Treachery comes into play, you get to untap, and then you gain control of a creature. So sometimes the best kind of removal is, they've got, Ulamog, Well, now I've got Ulamog. Sensei's Divining Top is a staple. Being able to manipulate the top of your library and draw a card when you need to is really strong. Soul Ring is the same. I mean, it's not the same effect, but it's a staple. Mana Vault. You know, at 1 mana to get 3 mana. Very good. I play both of the relevant talismans. Talisman of Indulgence and Talisman of Dominance. They're basically like pain lands that cost 2. And they help me, you know, get acceleration early on. Chromatic Lantern fixes my mana and is, you know, I think it's better than Darksteel Ingot. Gilded Lotus, for 5 to add 3, I probably wouldn't play it, except it's a combo piece with Zealous Conscripts and Deadeye Navigator. But, you know, in any case, it's good. Getting to the lands. So I run 1 of each basic, an island, a swamp, and a mountain. Then for all the colors, we have Command Tower, Reflecting Pool, City of Brass, and Crumbling Necropolis. Crumbling Necropolis isn't great. It comes in play tapped, but it fixes the mana, so it's good enough. Then I run 6 fetches. The 3 that go like mainly in my colors: Polluted Delta, Scalding Tarn, and Bloodstained Mire. And then only able to fetch a island in this deck is Misty Rainforest. Only able to fetch a swamp, Marsh Flats. And only able to fetch a mountain is Wooded Foothills. I only run 1 dual land because that's just all I've got. I'm working on building the collection more. Badlands. Then Shocks, all 3. Watery Graves, Steam Vents, and Blood Crypt. And then I really like the filter lands. My mana base is kind of complicated, so these are super important. Sunken Ruins, Cascade Bluffs, and Graven Cairns. And then the check lands, I think they're fantastic. Drowned Catacombs, Sulphur Falls, and Dragon Skull Summit. Then the Pain lands, they're good because they don't come into play tapped. Underground River, Shivan Reef, and Sulphur Springs. Then we got these fast lands from the Scars of Mirrodin block, and some people don't like them. If they come in the early turns, they're awesome, but they're Darkspeak Shores and Blackleaf Cliffs, and I would replace them for a Volcanic Island and Underground Sea, obviously. Creeping Tar Pit. The manlands are awesome because this dude's unblockable, and it just kills planeswalkers, really. Ancient Tomb, taps for 2. Great for acceleration. Temple of the False God is good for that later acceleration. If it's what you have to play early, it's a dead card, so it's hit and miss, but usually it's good. Desolate Lighthouse, it's a looting effect on a land, so that's awesome. Boseiju, my instants and sorceries can't be countered. That's good. Reliquary Tower, this goes in every EDH deck, so it's awesome. Strip Mine, Tectonic Age, and that's it. Thanks for watching Commander Decks. Don't forget to subscribe and favorite.